So my Holley HydraMat came in today, and what this does is a sock that goes on the bottom of your fuel pump so that if any corner of this is touching fuel, it'll still suck up a large amount and not run your pump dry like my car does. When it's low on gas, if it's at half a tank or less and I hit it, it's gonna starve for fuel just because all that fuel sloshes to the back. Or if it's real low and I'm making a sharp U-turn, it'll also starve. So my old setup was I got my fuel pump out here, and this just used to sit at the very bottom of the tank as far down as it could. So if it sloshed and this wasn't in the fuel, it would go dry, which is no bueno. So this is my makeshift cover I made. It's that box is where the fuel pump sits in, and I made a plastic cover to go on top to help this fuel from sloshing out of it. I think it helped a little bit. I mean, I wasn't sure if it was going to survive an E85 from all the horror stories I've heard, but you know, all the zip ties and the plastic survived, didn't melt or anything. And it's been like 2 years probably. So I'd call that a win, but I'm going to take it out now that I got the Holley HydraMat, so I don't got to worry about that. So this is going to be my Holley HydraMat setup. I got a Bosch 044, a fitting from Bosch Hydraulics. It's an MAT in 1.5 to 3/8 MPT. They're in Alberta, where I got that fitting online, through the Holley HydraMat. And I'm going to have to trim this hard line down. Man, the lighting sucks. I'm going to have to trim this hard line right here down, because this pump was designed to just sit in at the bottom of the tank as far as it could down here, but now I'm adding this much space to the bottom, so I'm going to have to cut it down so that the pump sits a little higher, so that this can sit at the bottom of the tank. I also don't know how I'm going to install the sock with the screws right there into the bottom of this plastic tank, the plastic holder for the fuel pump. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to install to mount the Holley HydraMat at all, because I don't know. I can't get the thing out. I've tried. It's not worth it. Even if I did get the pump and the mat installed into that box, I'd have to install it all at the same time, and I have no clue how that box would fit through this tiny hole. So just gonna wing it, hope for the best, I guess. So here's my fuel pump all set up. It's all put together minus the zip tie. I haven't tightened this, so it's too tall. I tried to test fit it with this in there. So it's too tall because I added this much length to the whole thing right here. So I'm going to measure this right here, this distance, and then I'm going to cut that distance off of this hard line at the top of the pump. This thing's upside down right now. So this is how I'm having to cut this fuel inlet off, because I can't fit anything else in there. I don't have the proper tools. Just thought I'd show you guys the ghetto-ness that's going on. Can't reach any other tool in there. I'll show you when it's all said and done, hopefully. Alright guys, so here's the finished product. I'm going to try and put it in now. So I thought I'd drop a little rotary knowledge on you guys. These are the plugs I use. They're $100. They're like 26 bucks a piece. So 4 of them, $100. They're a little bit different. These are the plugs my tuner tells me to use, so that's why I go with these. Let me try and that's what the tip looks like. So it doesn't protrude at all. So it's like kind of flat, so that the rotors don't hit them, I guess. And anyways, so you have to buy a special tool, a gapper tool, gap them to 20 thousandths. And I'll show you what this looks like in a second, if I can open it. I couldn't find anything on the internet on how to gap these kind of plugs, so I thought I'd share them with you. This is how I do it. I got this little tool I got, I think, from Summit or something like that. You just stick her in there, 20 thou. That's how I do it. So I was driving and I was about to pull in my shop, and there's this huge explosion under the hood. So bad that my hood like popped up and people were like staring and shit. And my AC line blew off right here. It was rubbing on the input shaft for the power steering. I don't have power steering, but the input shaft for the steering rack. And it rubbed a hole, blew a hole in it, fucking exploded. So I got another one made. This was 35 bucks. I got the hose a little shorter, and I got a bend instead of straight. So I'm gonna put that in. Then I don't know if I'm gonna vacuum the system and recharge it myself or go somewhere, but I don't know, we'll see. I also want to show you guys the tool I had to make to be able to get spark plugs out. So it's like a regular socket with the sides shaved down, so that you can get in between the housings and the spark plugs. I made this in like 2009, probably back when I first got the car. Had it ever since, so it's like a one-time thing. Probably didn't take me too long. So now I'm gonna take those suckers out down there. All right, so now that I replaced that AC line that's down there, I connected everything back up, and I went to AutoZone and I rented this hose kit, AC line kit, and an evac pump. And if you have 320 bucks in your bank account, you can rent it, and then when you give it back, you get your money back. So that's what I'm doing. Instead of spending $170 at Ice Cold Air, they can. So this is how you do it yourself, guys. Save some money. I'm pulling a vacuum right now for about an hour, and then I'm gonna go to Walmart and buy some Freon and charge this bitty up. All right, so I closed these two valves and I turned the pump off, and now I'm waiting to see if these, you're supposed to wait about an hour to see if these drop back to zero. But right now it's holding pressure, so it's still connected, holding vacuum, so you make sure there's no leaks. There's a lot more videos on YouTube that go more in depth than this, but these are the basics, you know. Oh yeah, and a trick that I learned is these lines this kit is brand new, and somebody, I think, over tightened these and ruined that green little gasket that's in there. So I put Teflon tape on all the fittings, and it holds the seal. So just, if it's not working, mine wasn't working at all, so I had to do that for this to work. So that's just a little tip. What's up, guys? I finally gave in and decided to drive to Orlando to my tuner, Kilo Racing, to get this thing tuned. I changed a bunch of stuff. I put a fuel filter in. I put a Holley HydraMat on the fuel pump. I replaced an injector that was leaking. I put a different primary fuel rail in, and I fixed a crank angle sensor that was cracked, the plastic that goes to it. So I'm about halfway there. I'm an hour in. I got an hour to go, so it's 2 hours total. And I got 3/4 of a tank. I got my original tires on the back so that I don't waste these Pirellis, because I don't have money to be wasting like that. And then I'm at 3/4 of a tank, but I have two 5-gallon gas containers filled in the back, so hopefully I don't crash and burn up. But yeah, get this thing tuned finally, get it running right, hopefully. So I got my AC running good too, and I got just keep an eye on all the gauges, make sure I'm not overheating or losing oil pressure or anything. And I got the AC going, and I got a bazooka tube back there, so I'm listening to tunes, so it's not so bad. A little droney, but you know, having a 500 horsepower car with air conditioning, that's the dream. I don't care what anybody says, that's the dream. What's up?
AFR started acting funny. So we were troubleshooting, we couldn't find out what it was. And finally we found out that it was, we were testing everything. We thought it was fuel, then we thought it was the spark plugs, then we thought it was the computer, the Microtech, but then we figured out it was 2 of the ignition coils went bad at the same time, which is crazy. So I'm gonna have to drop the car off in a couple weeks so that he can figure out everything and figure out why it's killing ignition coils and stuff like that. So but anyways, I'll show you guys the AFRs now. They read way better than they were on the way there. So that's the AFRs now. Instead of reading like 10.9, it goes to 12.3 and shit. And I'm getting way better gas mileage. So I used a whole tank pretty much, and I started with a quarter tank on the way home. That's what I'm at now.